Good evening, everyone. Sorry for the delay. We got stuck a little bit late in executive session. We already saluted the flag in executive session, so at this point we're going to have a roll call.
Mr. Salmon.
Here.
Ms. Schaefer.
Here.
Ms. Gray.
Here.
Ms. Singh.
Here.
Ms. White.
Here.
Ms. Light.
Here.
Mr. Khanna.
Here.
Ms. Hira.
Here.
Ms. McCune.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I'll just quickly read through the statement of public notice. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Education. Notice of the time and place was provided, and copies were posted as required by the law. For those members who are unable to attend our meeting in person, a live stream link of the meeting is posted on the district website. We very much welcome input from the public. There are 2 times during regular meetings that the public is invited to speak. The first is early in the meeting before the board votes, when you may speak about any item that is listed on tonight's agenda. Towards the end of the meeting, there is another public forum to address any matter of public concern related to the schools. When you approach the microphone, please state your name and address. I'm going to kind of skim through this because I want to get to the a cappella singers. So let's see. As a courtesy to those individuals unable to attend our meetings in person, public comment may be made remotely through Zoom. The district webpage has the instructions on there, and there's also a link in this agenda. Public comments made in person will be processed first, then comments on Zoom. No public comments will be accepted after the last item board forum of the agenda begins. Please understand that public comment portions of our agendas are not structured as question and answer sessions, but rather they are offered as opportunities to share your thoughts with the board. The board or administration will respond to public comments to the extent possible. Any board responses to public comments will generally be addressed during board forum or during committee reports. However, all comments are considered and will be investigated and addressed as appropriate. Please be courteous and mindful of the rights of others when speaking. Comments may not be abusive, obscene, threatening, or irrelevant. Please understand that students and employees have specific legal and privacy protections. The board is not presented to speak in public about comments or make comments about students and employees. Please understand that the board will not be responsible for the content of comments made by members of the public. Members of the public are cautioned that they are speaking at their own risk, and any personally directed statements may subject them to legal liability to the affected individual. Okay, so at this point, we're going to go to our student representative, Kyle Swan.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kyle Swan, and I'm the Vice President of the Student Body Student Government and the student representative to the Board of Education in Petra's absence. Thank you for having me here tonight. I'd like to start off by thanking the Board of Education, specifically Mr. Markarian, Ms. McKeon, Mr. Salmon, Ms. White, and Ms. Gray, for making the time to meet with the Ridge Student Government, its advisors, and Dr. Lazovich on Wednesday. The student government greatly appreciates and values its relationship with the Board of Education. On Wednesday, we discussed a series of student issues, including cafeteria problems, food choices, pricing, reintroducing breakfast, class options for freshmen, include issues with acquiring tissues, mandatory physical education for freshmen as opposed to the former option 2, study hall option, drop dates for classes, and more. The student government hopes to have another meeting in the 3rd or 4th morning periods to review improvements since our previous meeting and any outstanding concerns. In other Ridge High School news, Ridge is gearing up for the junior-senior volleyball tournament this Friday, in which the winning team will play Ridge faculty. The chorus concert is this Tuesday in the Performing Arts Center, following 2 great performances from the band and orchestra. They're in the back of the pack right now. We heard a brief performance on the half day before Thanksgiving, so I definitely recommend attending. They sounded awesome. Last weekend, Ridge Forensics hosted Ridge Debates in person for the first time in 3 years and also competed in the Summer Hilltopper Classic. Clubs at Ridge are as busy as ever. The Red Cross Club hosted a food drive, Operation Smile ran a Bake Good fundraiser, and the Ridge Amnesty Club hosted a spikeball tournament during lunch to benefit Ukrainian refugees. Furthermore, the Ridge Booster Club sold new Ridge merchandise outside of the cafeteria during lunch. This week, a new View Club will be selling candy canes and hot chocolate from Wednesday through Friday to benefit the National Association of the Blind. And if any students are looking for great opportunities to get involved, Big Sibling and Unified Sports programs, as well as Ridge's student newspaper, Devil's Quill, are looking for additional members. This week, Ridge boys basketball had an impressive buzzer beater victory in their season opener against Hillsborough and followed that up with a win against Hoboken on Saturday. Ridge Wrestling took first place at the Ricky First Memorial Tournament with Tanner Connolly, Ryan Angle, Gavin Duran, Timmy Colshorn, and Kevin Taylor all coming in first place. The Ridge girls swim team beat Mount St. Mary's on Tuesday, and the boys and girls teams beat Hunterdon Central on Thursday. Both teams are still undefeated. Expect more wins from Ridge's winter sports in the coming weeks. We're proud of the work that students at Ridge have put in over the first half of the school year and urge them to take time off and prioritize their mental health over winter break. Thank you for your time here tonight, and I wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday Season, and Blessed New Year. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you very much for your report. We always look forward to hearing what's going on. We are going to move down below, and then we'll come back up after that.
Pazza.
they're gone already to go back to practice. Maybe we should just go down there on Monday nights and hang out with them instead of coming here. It would be a lot funner. But that was amazing. Okay, at this point, we're up to superintendent's report. There are 4 items. Would someone like to make a motion for those items? Ms. Singh, would someone like to second? Ms. Schaefer? Mr. Markarian, did you want to speak?
Sure. First item is the monthly HIB report. The second is a new extracurricular club. And the third and fourth are reports of the code of conduct for school safety data and the state and local assessments, part 2. So I can speak a little bit more about that after accept the reports.
Okay, so could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Salmon,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer,
Yes.
Ms. Gray,
Yes.
Ms. Singh,
Yes.
Ms. White,
Yes.
Ms. Light,
Yes.
Mr. Khanna, Ms. Hira,
Yes.
Ms. McCune.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you.
Okay, so just to share a few highlights, we'll start with the Code of Conduct report for the 2021-22 school year. And for the benefit of the public, we will post the data with the minutes. I think the material thing to take note of here in our Code of Conduct report for 21-22 is that it's not significantly different than prior years. And what we really want to focus on a little bit more later is to talk about HIB and what's going on with regard to that. So I think the relevant piece here is that what we have seen in our data overall is essentially some dips in the total number of incidents that we are seeing happening with regard to code of conduct violations, as well as HIB incidents in the 1920 and 2021 school years. And I'm sure that won't come as any surprise given what we had going on with the pandemic. Last school year, 21-22, numbers returned to typical pre-pandemic types of statistics. But as we go forward into the fall of the current school year, we have seen a significant uptick, in particular with our HIB cases. Largely at the middle school, I think, is where we're seeing the most activity. So we're focusing a lot of energy on the middle school at this time and the bus environment, which can be particularly challenging at the middle school level. Kristen, do you want to share a little summary of where you are with the part 2 from the state and local assessments?
Sure, thank you. Hi, everyone. On October 17th, I presented the state assessment results for the spring 2022 New Jersey Student Learning Assessments. At that time, we had not received the results of 2 additional assessments, the 2022 New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment and the fall 2022 Start Strong Assessments. And these are also required to be reported out on. Board members, you have copies of the presentation, which will be posted tomorrow for the public to review. So while there's no full presentation tonight, I would be happy to answer any questions that you have about the results now or in the future, but I do have a few thoughts to share with you on the results. First, the New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment is the new required graduation assessment. It was announced by the New Jersey Department of Education in September of 2021, the start of the students' junior year, that there would be a new graduation assessment in the winter of their junior year. The communication from the Department of Education to the then juniors was that they were required to sit for and take the exam in order to be eligible to utilize one of the alternative pathways that have been utilized over the last few years in order to meet what was the previous graduation assessment, which at that time included New Jersey student learning assessments in English language English, language arts, and algebra. The emphasis last year from the Department of Education was that students would only be able to utilize one of the alternatives if they took the NJ GPA, but they were not required to pass it. We think this is important because of the way the assessment continued to unfold over the course of the current seniors' junior year. We had nearly 100% participation on the New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment, but we did not receive the assessment results of those, for those students until last summer. And this was only after the Department of Education reversed itself and declared that the NJ GPA as a field test would be counted as a field test, and they released that on July 5th of 2022 last summer, again, before we received the results. The Department of Education also waived any and all other graduation assessment requirements for the class of 2023, and as a result of the GPA being classified as a field test. Very complicated, but what the result was that the current seniors do not have a graduation assessment requirement this year. So the results of this assessment are divided into two categories. Students are either graduation ready or not graduation ready, or not yet graduation ready, in both ELA, English Language Arts, and mathematics. There were 105 students who are not graduation ready on the ELA assessment, and 48 students who are not graduation ready on the mathematics assessment. We looked more closely at those students and found that 90 of the students deemed not graduation ready in ELA on the NJ GPA would have met the graduation requirement utilizing an alternative pathway. And 34 of the students not graduation ready in mathematics would have met that requirement using an alternative pathway. If you also remove any students who are no longer active students at Ridge High School, that left us with a total of 2.5% of students not graduation ready in English Language Arts, or 10 students, and 2.7% of our students not graduation ready in mathematics, or 11 students. Therefore, given the way this assessment unfolded, with the NJDOE waiving the entire assessment, we do feel that there is minimal benefit to an in-depth analysis of the results at this time. The current juniors, this year's juniors, are again required to take the NJ GPA in order to utilize one of the alternative pathways and meet the graduation assessment requirement. As such, they are strongly encouraged to be here to take it so that their schedules during their senior year will not be impacted by the need to prepare for or take this assessment. We have communicated this to students a number of times and will continue to do so. The second assessment included in this report are the results of the 2022 Fall Start Strong assessments. You may or may not recall that in the fall of 2021, the Start Strong assessments were administered in place of the 2021 Spring NJSLA, or New Jersey Student Learning Assessments, which were again canceled due to COVID. At the time, the New Jersey Department of Education said that this was in order to provide us with information about student learning in order to help us through our transition back to in-person instruction, and that it would be a one-time assessment. However, on July 13th of 2022, the Department of Education declared that the Start Strong assessments would again be mandatory for all districts in the fall of 2022. On this assessment, the results are broken down into three categories. A 1 indicates strong support may be needed, a 2 that some support may be needed, and a 3 that less support may be needed. These assessments are made up of previously released New Jersey Student Learning Assessment questions, and those assessments include a fairly small number of questions, between 10 and 15 questions on most of the tests. So while we have reviewed these results as well, and are sharing them with administrators and teachers to compare student performance on this assessment with their performance on other assessments, we do find a very limited benefit from this data. The overwhelming majority of our students fall into a number 2 or 3 category, but as that is relevant, the data can be analyzed along with other assessments in the classroom and other state assessment results that we have. So I would encourage you all to review the results and let me know if you have any questions or would like to discuss this at an upcoming board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions right now? Okay, I'm sure you'll get some questions later, and maybe from the public. Okay, you don't have anything else, right, Mr. Murphy? Okay, we are now up to public comment on agenda items. If you have a public comment, please state your name and address, and then you can sign in on the clipboard after you speak. And this is for items that are on the agenda.
Hi, excuse me. Hi, Debbie Marcus, 16 Lafayette Lane, commenting about the club. So at the last meeting, there was a board forum afterwards discussing the diversity, equity, and inclusion report. And there was also the introduction of this new extracurricular club. There was also a question from Ms. Light about making sure the club was considering it, or consider whether it needs to be diverse or consider diversity. I don't know the exact wording. And there was a response for the board by Mr. Salmon asking what she meant by that question. Now, I actually agree with Mr. Salmon that most clubs should be determined by interest of students and perhaps merit or qualifications depending on the kind of club or tryouts that entail. However, the diversity and equity and inclusion report that you had just finished discussing actually specifically says that our clubs aren't diverse enough. And I had separately been communicating with Megan, who was the facilitator consultant for that group, about what exactly she meant by that, because she focused in on AP and music programs, which I wanted to make sure she wasn't thinly veiled trying to say that there are too many of certain kinds of minorities in them. And she replied that the student demographics in some clubs and programs do not reflect the general population of students in Bernards. Our recommendation is that all students in Bernards be encouraged and given the opportunity to develop their academic strengths and skills, regardless of their background or identity. If this were happening, representation would better reflect the larger student population. This fact invites the question: if certain student demographics aren't present in certain clubs or programs, where are they, and why aren't they being guided into these clubs and programs? A fuller picture of student demographics in all programs would be helpful to gain a more complete understanding about disproportionality in the Bernards Township School District. So, while I repeat that I agree that I think clubs don't need a thorough investigation like this, considering we were just discussing a report about it, I thought it was very appropriate that Ms. Light brought up that issue for discussion, and was surprised that she was jumped on by most of the other members in even asking the question. So my bigger picture is I don't need to hear discussion about the diversity of clubs in this kind of setup, but that questions within the board are more respectfully responded to and considered relevant and not just dismissed. Often they are something that some parents in the audience may want to know, even if in this case it wasn't something that I was concerned about. Thank you.
Cody Smith, 36 Royal Oak Drive. I just want to make sure when you cover the Finance Committee report, item number 18 about the engagement of Summit Management Solutions, LLC for $75,000 or amount not to exceed, that you cover what that was for. Thank you.
Hello, it's Jen Korn, 23 Woodstone Road. I haven't been here in a long time, but since I'm here, I might as well come out twice. So I had to thank you for the report on the testing, which is, of course, something that I'm interested in. And it seems like it was a lot of mandates, and it seems like there were, I mean, for lack of a better term, jerking the kids around a little bit when you're saying it counts, it doesn't count. And also, it doesn't sound like there's much comparison. You can't compare one year to another because they're just like throwing random tests at these kids, so it doesn't seem fair, and it's another mandate that causes us a lot of time and energy to do it, and it's wasting the kids' time, the teachers' time, the administration's time. So that's just, and I'm sure there's nothing you can really do about it because you get in trouble if you don't do it, but I just wanted to say that I think, thanks for doing the work with it, but I'm sorry that the kids and you guys, it seems like there's a lot of mixed messaging coming from the state, and they need to get their act together before they're going to ask our kids to do any more than they're already doing.
Is there anyone else for agenda items?
Title Stein Riverside Drive. This is concerning number 10 Personnel Committee report, number 5 and number 6. I'd like to know exactly when Mr. Rollo is going to be starting. I don't understand why Ms. Brooks is going to be paid $205,000 and then he's being bumped up to $215,000. I don't understand when he's going to when she's going to stop and when he's going to start, because it's not sitting here. And I'd like to know what's going to happen in start of September or wherever, after June 30th. I'd like to know exactly what you're going to be paying him. I want to know exactly what perks you're going to give him, if you're buying life insurance or anything else. Also, at $205,000 is way more than the chief of police makes a year in this town. I don't understand. It's not like they're controlling the whole school, or they don't have a big staff. It's a lot of friggin' money. And when I'm paying it, it bothers me. Thank you.
Is there anyone else for public comment on agenda items? Okay, I'll close public comment at this time. We don't have anyone waiting in Zoom, so I'm going to close public comment. Mr. McCarry, did you want to answer a couple of the specific ones?
Sure. So there was a question, actually there was a few questions kind of related to our situation with our business administrator position. I think it's pretty clear at this point that most people understand that our existing business administrator is finishing up his contract for the balance of the calendar year, just a handful of days left. And so we are taking some action tonight to handle that situation. We have on the agenda Mr. Jim Rollo, who I am very pleased to recommend to the board. Mr. Rollo has some history in the district. 9 years ago, he was in the district as an assistant business administrator, and previous to that, he worked for many years as our district's IT director. He comes to us having left the district for the past 9 years to work as a business administrator in other districts at Mendham Borough and the Morris County VOTEC school district. Mr. Rollo is extremely intelligent and very talented, and we are very fortunate to have him be here tonight and to be interested in working in our district. I think that there is a perception that isn't necessarily really well understood with regard to the role of a school business administrator and a board secretary. That job is the chief financial officer of the district. They are responsible essentially for all of the non-instructional activities that the district undertakes. So it's a very large responsibility and really requires the talents of someone who can handle a big workload, be a good communicator, and is really intelligent. We're very lucky to have those qualities in Mr. Rollo, so I look forward to recommending him on the agenda tonight. Mr. Rollo cannot start in the district until March 6th, so we were equally lucky that our assistant business administrator, Ms. Brooks, was willing to bear the title of acting chief financial officer for our district until Mr. Rollo can get here. She's taking on that responsibility at an increased salary for a short period of time in the months of January and February only. So there is an incremental increase in her salary during that 2-month period while she's taking on this role. I say that we are lucky because many school districts in the state of New Jersey don't have full-time business administrators. They're working with interims and whoever they can get to help. In my experience, people that are committed to the district and working in the district under long-term contracts are the best solution in the long run for the school district. So I'm very pleased that Ms. Brooks, who's already been here as an assistant business administrator, is willing to bear the title of our chief financial officer until Mr. Rollo can be here. I know that many districts are paying $1,000 a day to have a interim business administrator. We are going to be paying much less than that in having Ms. Brooks be here acting as our business administrator until Mr. Rollo, comes to us on March 6th. So I hope that answers some of the questions. There was a third related item, and that was with Summit Management Solutions. This is a contract to have the possibility of staff from Summit Management Solutions help really in the short term over the next couple of months. As Ms. Brooks becomes our acting business administrator, board secretary, there is no one to backfill her responsibilities, and the business office is already down one staff person as it is. So Summit Management Solutions is essentially an organization that can provide temporary assistance, someone that could come in and help back up Ms. Brooks while she's acting as the district's chief financial officer. So that amount that's there, a not to exceed amount, I do not anticipate going anywhere near $75,000 in the short term. It will certainly be much, much less than that. And in fact, this is just making the organization an available vendor. We need to approve them and their contract to even use their services on a part-time basis. And they would be billing hourly and invoicing hourly for their services. If we can come to an agreement on someone that could come and help us part-time, they might be working 10, 15 hours a week. Just depends on what we're able to work out with them. And as I said, this is really a stopgap over the next couple months to make sure the business office has enough staff to keep operations running. I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Mercarian? Okay. We are now up to approval of minutes. There's one item. Would someone like to make a motion for that item? Mr. Salmon and Ms. Light, seconded. Could we have a roll call, please?
1 second. Sure. Okay. Mr. Salmon,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer,
Yes.
Ms. Gray,
Yes.
Ms. Singh,
Yes.
Ms. White,
Yes.
Ms. Light,
Yes.
Mr. Khanna,
Yes.
Ms. Hira,
Yes.
Ms. McCune.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. We're up to the Finance Committee. There are 18 items. Would someone like to make a motion for those? Ms. Singh and Ms. Schaefer. Is there a Finance Committee report?
There is. I'm reporting out on the minutes from Thursday, November 17th. Sorry. The first item was the Oak Street roof project. At the time, only the tower roof edge remained to be completed. The contractor had been restricted to working only on the weekends and when school was closed because of the shorter days, and the danger of working in the dark on a roof. Prefco had submitted a final design drawing for the tower trim work to the architect for approval. That approval, was expected, and then the design and fabrication of that tower edge piece would begin. The next item was the turf field. Mr. Perrin joined the committee, and he had received, at that time, he had received proposals from both Boswell and French and Perello Engineering. He was going to prepare a comparative analysis of those proposals for the committee's consideration at the next meeting. Just as a reminder, both firms were asked to submit design proposals detailing drainage and installing of an artificial turf field on Varsity Field, and drainage and resodding of Varsity Field, and electrical service and rough-ins for potential field lights. So those are 4 items. The proposals will address environmental issues. When the committee meets in December, there was expected to be a recommendation. The next item was the possible contribution for flooring in the football and track locker room. In an ongoing effort to address desires of boosters to make enhancements to the football track locker room, Mr. Perrin had been engaged with the Touchdown Club and Ridge Runners representatives to identify appropriate flooring. Mr. Perrin researched a number of floor products and recommended Tarkett Sports Indoor Drop Zone Impact 24 by 24 straight edge tiles in color green. The floor is to be permanently glued down and has an 8-year warranty. It is compatible with spike and ice skate use and is suitable for constant traffic, sports activities, and equipment. The boosters, Ridge Touchdown Club, Ridge Booster Club, and Ridge Runners fundraised to donate $25,000 toward the project, and the balance of the project will be covered by the board. The boosters are requesting that, the committee recommends moving forward with the project to procurement requirements and agreeable installation schedule, which information to come in the future. The HVAC RTU rooftop unit assessment was the next item. Mr. Mistretta from C&M Engineering had been surveying the rooftop units. Cedar Hill and Oak Street and William Annan had been completed. The work is continuing to complete the other buildings. From this work, the schedule will be built for RTU capital projects looking ahead. Simultaneously, Mr. Mistretta was working on the development of bid specifications for supplemental HVAC classroom project at Ridge High School. Bid packages are expected to be ready by the 2nd week of January. Lead time on the Airedale units is about 16 weeks, which should be sufficient timing to be able to install the units in July, assuming that the bid is awarded in late February. And then we're up to the agenda items for tonight's agenda. And beginning with 1 through 3 are standing items. Number 4 is professional development. Number 5 is a field trip for the jazz band. Number 6 is a donation for the Red Devil Wrestling Club for mats. Number 7 is a proposed contract with Lifelines for a school-based suicide prevention and response program. Number 8 is a request for authorization for Title I, 2A, 3, and 4A carryover funds. Number 9 is non-public state aid. It is important to note that these are pass-through funds that our local district is responsible for administering. 10 and 11 are placements for student IEPs. 13 through 16 are out-of-district placements. 17 is a unilateral placement for a home instruction course, and 18 is for professional services support in the business office. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Gray. At this point, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Salmon.
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer.
Yes.
Ms. Gray.
Yes.
Ms. Singh.
Yes.
Ms. White.
Yes.
Ms. Light.
Yes.
Mr. Khanna.
Yes.
Ms. Hira.
Yes.
Ms. McCune.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We're up to the Personnel Committee. There are 19 items. Would someone like to make a motion for those? Mrs. Gray and Ms. Light. Is there a Personnel Committee report?
We did meet on November 18th, but I cannot report on these items as they were contractual, staff-related, and/or security-related.
Okay, thank you. Could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Salmon.
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer.
Yes.
Ms. Gray.
Yes.
Ms. Singh.
Yes.
Ms. White.
Yes.
Ms. Light.
Yes.
Mr. Khanna.
Yes.
Ms. Hira.
Yes.
Ms. McCune.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Mr. Markarian?
Thanks, Mrs. McCann. So with that, some congratulations are in order. As I just explained a few minutes ago, we want to congratulate and thank Ms. Brooks for her willingness to accept the acting role for School Business Administrator, Board Secretary for the next couple of months. And especially we want to welcome Mr. Jim Rollo back to the school district. We're really looking forward to having his talents here. He is pensively thinking about all the work I described to him that I need him to get going on. But Jim, if you want to share a few words, you'd be welcome to. So congratulations, Jim.
I'll keep it quick because I know you have a lot of agenda yet to cover. Just thank you very much to the board and the superintendent. It was a great 10 years in my first stint here, and I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to it again, hoping to do another 10 years here. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and welcome. Okay, we're up to the Policy Committee. There are 2 items. Would someone like to make a motion for those? Mr. Khanna, and you can never see down there, Ms. Schaefer. Is there a Policy Committee report?
The Policy Committee just met again. I believe the 2 items are just approval of the school year calendar, which was given out last time, and then there are no changes. It's second reading of the policies that I had reported out at the last meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we can have a roll call, please.
Mr. Salmon?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Ms. Gray?
Yes.
Ms. Singh?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Light?
Yes.
Mr. Khanna?
Yes.
Ms. Hira?
Yes.
Ms. McCune?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. We're up to the Curriculum Committee. There are 2 items. Would someone like to make a motion for those? Mr. Salmon and Mrs. Gray? Thank you. Is there a Curriculum Committee report?
Yes. The first addresses the new course, Enriched Algebra 2. There have been ongoing discussions about the Algebra 2 course for many years. Creating this added course should narrow the gap between students and allow teachers to better differentiate for their students. Currently, the courses available are CP Algebra 2, Honors Algebra 2, and a 2-year non-CAA approved course called Intermediate Algebra and Trigonometry A and B, which had originally 12 students enrolled in September. However, 15 students have dropped a level since the start of the school, causing the enrollment to be 27, thus impacting other classes. Creating this course will offer students the ability to register for the class that is appropriate and best for them and help strengthen and heighten the students' mathematical understanding. This new course is designed to prepare students for pre-calculus and other higher-level math courses. This plan also provides a more supported classroom and greater access to the Algebra 2 curriculum for students who need it. The plan will be to phase out the 2-year intermediate algebra and trigonometry course following the 23-24 school year, allowing students currently enrolled in Year 1 to complete Year 2. Students new to Algebra 2 in 23-24 will then enroll in the newly revised NCAA-approved CP Algebra 2, Enriched Algebra 2, or Honors Algebra 2. Summer curriculum writing will be needed, and this new course will be added to the Ridge Program of Studies. And then there is a course proposal for Honors Ethics. The proposed title of this course is Honors Ethics, What's the Right Thing to Do? The course will prepare students for engaging moral and ethical reasonings. CP and Honors will run concurrently as other electives such as current issues and sociology do. Students enrolled at the honors level will be required to complete 1 to 2 additional independent learning activities per unit. As an example, honors students may be required to complete an end-of-course essay evaluating the 5 classic ethical systems studied throughout the semester. Currently, there are 2 sections of the CP level course running with 21 students each. It's reasonable to expect adding another section of the course in the next or future years. And we had a review of the summer intervention program. 352 students in grades 1 through 8 were invited to participate. These are students who receive instructional support, ESL, or were identified by principals. 166 students accepted the invitation, and 152 students regularly attended. The summer intervention was a 5-week program which provided 5 one-hour sessions to students. It was flexible and offered remote and in-person option, which might be why participation was higher than in the previous year. 29 ESL students participated in the summer intervention. 87 students chose to be virtual and 65 attended in person. The mode of participation varied by grade level. Teachers reported it a positive experience as they were able to work with 1 to 2 students at a time. 87 students received remediation in reading, 34 students received help in math, and 31 students worked on both content areas. There were 70 male and 82 females enrolled. The younger grades tended to need more support in reading. Summer intervention was fully funded by the ESSER grant, and the cost to run this program was a little under $82,000. The goal of summer intervention is not for students to exit from their support services, but rather to retain and not lose ground on any skill. Initial fall testing results were also under initial investigation as scores from Start Strong have just been released and data from MAP scores were being reviewed. Discussion took place as to why summer intervention will be discontinued. The reasons include: 1, we have utilized all ESSER funding designated for this purpose; 2, limited interest from both staff and students; and 3, limited academic benefits. Our current data indicates our students have largely recovered to pre-pandemic achievement, and the intervention programs we have in place are supporting students who are below grade level in specific skill areas. While we do not plan to provide a summer intervention program, the district will continue to provide resources to families that provide students with individualized and independent activities, similar to the way our current school-based instructional support program provides parents with resources and a summary of the skills that students are working on in school. ESL will continue to be provided during the summer. Then we were provided with an update on the K-5 technology scope and sequence. As we implement the technology plan and integrate our student device initiative, this project was the second year of our work to develop a scope and sequence of technology skills for integration throughout the curriculum. Following the transition from the bi-monthly technology special to the weekly Quest special, we developed a tentative outline of skills and gathered feedback from teachers at the end of the school year. During this project, the team finalized the technology and digital life skills scope and sequence. The team also developed training materials and resources for our elementary teachers for a rollout during the September 1st in-service. We will continue to collaborate with teachers as they implement the scope and sequence and consider where adjustments may be necessary. Additional training for teachers will be considered as well, but support is being provided by our instructional courses. Digital citizenship is also a big focus. The Technology Scope and Sequence project refined the skills and concepts students will learn at each grade level and that must be reinforced by all teachers. Tech skills and digital literacy skills are intertwined with each other and throughout all subjects, and this requires a shared responsibility as we consider where and how these skills and concepts should be taught. As with all of our curriculum, we can continue to refine the technology scope and sequence to meet the needs of our students and our program. Classroom teachers embedded lessons in class at the beginning of the school year. It will not be just a building principal or Quest teacher who reviews this information. Technology skills for each grade level includes instruction, reinforcement, and mastery were created. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
No questions? Okay. So did we already vote on? We didn't vote yet. Okay, so we have to vote on those. We need a roll call. Oh, you have a question?
No, I just have a comment.
Okay.
It's short and it's sweet, but yay.
Robin, did we vote on the new course?
Thank you to Ms. Fox and to, I'm sorry.
Robin, Kristen was just asking, did we vote on the new courses?
We're going to in a minute.
We haven't voted on anything yet. After the report, we're having discussion now.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you to Ms. Fox and to Mr. Colmer, who's not here, and to everyone who worked on the changes on the Algebra 2. For those of you who don't know, this is amazing and a long time coming, like over 10 years. So this is fantastic and good for students, which is the main goal always. So thank you for all that. It's fantastic.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, now we need a roll call.
Mr. Salmon,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer,
Yes.
Ms. Gray,
Yes.
Ms. Singh,
Yes.
Ms. White,
Yes.
Ms. Light,
Yes.
Mr. Khanna,
Yes.
Ms. Hira,
Yes.
Ms. McCune.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. We're up to the Wellness Committee. Is there a report?
Yes, I have actually a combination of two reports, so this is a little bit long. On October 27th, the Wellness Committee met, and we had a presentation by Mr. Shello about the current coach training. This isn't the required trainings that coaches have to go through for CPR and things like that. This was a new training that we have been instituting on positive coaching. So they started that training program this fall. All the fall coaches took a core training class online, and there was 100% completion. The fall coaches enjoyed that class, but it was not offered to volunteers due to the cost, so we're suggesting that we'd like to have volunteer coaches also undergo this certification for core training. We also heard more about what we were interested in was the Positive Coach Alliance coaching update. And this is actually the piece of it that's the positive coaching. There's a component that is in person. It started on November 16th for our winter coaches. There was a 2-hour course training in the evening, which combined with positive coaching and triple impact competitor coaching, coaching with empathy and triple impact competitor training. It was done at a preseason meeting, and the schools are training's being tracked by season per coach on SchoolFi. And then in the future, we won't have to have the full live training of 90 minutes. We can have coaches go through a 30-minute refresher course in smaller groups. And this will continue through for the spring coaches. The fall coaches who missed it this past fall will be scheduled to do it in June in the spring. And we've already received some really positive feedback about that coaching program. We also had a presentation about the WAMS Culture and Climate Survey. This one's going back. So pre-COVID, the College of St. Elizabeth's, which is now St. Elizabeth's University, came to work with the middle school on a survey that was called Culture and Climate for Middle Schools. And the initial survey was done in 2018. So as I said, we're going back a little bit. But due to the pandemic, everything was paused. It did continue in February of 2022. The 6th graders who were initially surveyed for back when now 8th graders, and the team from St. Elizabeth's came back to present some of their findings. Just to give you a little reference, 150 schools actually underwent this survey, and the consultants came in monthly. They met with student groups, teacher groups, parent groups, and the study was specific to our information, but they also then had some compare and contrast to other schools. We were actually the largest middle school group that the St. E's worked with. So some of the results came back with, they surveyed the students, and the student survey section came back that the students on bullying didn't really feel that there was too much frequency in the elementary schools, which is great, or middle school, excuse me. This is 2022. That they felt that the dealing with bullying was positive, that it was an issue, but when bullying happens, it was mostly on the bus. Trending up was students identifying as transgender. And those students see school a little bit different from the other students. They were feeling a little bit less positive about the middle school. In 2018, we didn't have enough students to have a category for transgender students, but by February 2022, we had at least 10 students who did identify as transgender, so now it's an official category. And Mrs. Hudok's looking for information and using that data to shape how they move forward with things like morning meeting, addressing name changes, and gender-neutral pronouns. The staff was surveyed. They felt very positive and supported. Positive interactions. The staff felt the students were learning about positive culture, and the parents were also feeling that the students were increasing in the positive culture of the school. There are some opportunities for the staff in morale and student pride they felt that this, oh, I'm sorry, this is the students still. The students felt that I go to school here, it's no big deal, I'm not really that proud of my place. And that there was a lot of workload increasing, so they were going to work on that. The parent survey, parents also believe that the perception of the students being in school is positive, that the homeschool connection was positive. One of the takeaways was that parent involvement is slightly positive. That's always sort of an issue as parents move from elementary, where they're very included, to middle school, where it's not so, there are not so many opportunities for parents. So there's some discussion about fostering more opportunities between home and school. And the one thing that the consultants did say was that our survey results basically over the years stayed pretty consistent, and the surveyors felt this was very rare, that we didn't dive like most other schools did, and being the largest middle school, they were pretty surprised to it. But it was really unique to our own growth, comparing our data to past data. Mrs. Hudak's goals felt she wanted to build some student pride. They're doing some of that, implemented morning meetings across grade levels, field days, color wars. The learning lab was a very big success last year, and some of the students, all the students and teachers would like learning labs to continue more than once a week, more than once a month, I think that is. Also bringing back snack time, because students are ravished by fifth period, so they're going to try to implement that and working in some snack time for middle schoolers. And the final point at this meeting was that Mr. Salmon asked a question to be followed up about the unit lunch at Ridge, about whether there was a notion floating around that it was a little frantic, and that this had nothing to do with where people are eating, but that the clubs were all meeting and the students were feeling torn. So we pushed that back and got the results back in November. The November meeting, so I'll just actually skip to that and finish that lunch conversation. Mrs. Smith affirmed that no students are assigned to music classes or lab classes that take them out of lunch this time. So that's previous to our before drop add schedule. Students would often have labs during lunch, or music classes that would meet, or ensembles that would meet, that would take them out of lunch entirely. And that is not true anymore. Everyone gets a break. Students don't have to go to clubs and participate. And their overall does not seem to be, and she had talked to the guidance counselors and some students about an overwhelming sense of an overwhelmed student. The clubs do meet, but it's not mandatory, and students no longer need to sacrifice club and activity involvement due to academic course requirements. So that was the follow-up on that. We received an update on the WAM's ESS program, and that's the Student Services. Effective School Solutions, thank you, which is in the high school, and we moved it to the middle school for support for students. It's taking off a little slowly. We do have some spots available. Ridge is very full of students, so we're in discussions that if that WAM's group didn't have a full group by the end of the first quarter, that maybe the ESS program would step to help out in the elementary schools, that there are some students there that could benefit from the program, and we'll hear an update about that in December. We also heard an update about, or heard about, the Lifeline Suicide Prevention Programming, which was finance item number 7, actually, if you want to refer to it. This is a trilogy program on suicide prevention, and the information initially came from Somerset County, and the county got a 3-year grant to get it to the schools. Mrs. Smith had attended information sessions for directors of guidance, and they were going forward with an info session for the counselors, the child study team, and Ms. Fox. The next step is having staff input and staff review and weigh in on the program benefits of moving forward. This is a grade 5 through 12 3 trilogy program, which means it's prevention, intervention, and postvention. So in the event of a tragedy, how do you handle it? The prevention section would be sort of in the classroom. They have 150 pages of documents, of lessons in grades 5, 7, and 9 on suicide prevention, which is going to be looked at, evaluated, and considered. This is not implemented. The high school level is also the teen mental health first aid, which we already do in the 10th grade in that 3 extra weeks of health. And the intervention piece of it would be not in the classroom, but in the counseling staff. So this would be the staff training, looking at our needs, looking at our current and evaluating our current programs. The postvention aspect is a crisis management. We already have a traumatic loss committee that would be involved with this and looking at, this is kind of a coaching model, seeing what you're already doing and feedback on that process. It's a 3-year agreement to work with this program, and Bernard's High School is already doing this too. The benefits are as a county partner to evaluate our current program. They're reviewing curriculum materials to see, we are reviewing curriculum materials to see if there are things we can use in our curriculum. It enhances training for newer teachers and newer counselors, and it is a free program. Despite the fact that it was on the finance budget line, that $22,000 is actually covered entirely by a county grant, and it does say that in the finance items. There may be some costs for time to review this, teacher costs for maybe some summer curriculum review in the future. We had a report finally from the SACs. It was a PD day that we met on, and this SACs and the middle school counselors, as part of their professional development, we're going to various mental health programs, which are some of the bigger ones that we refer students to visit and see what the programs are about. These are some inpatient, some outpatient programs, but they could experience what the programs actually happen. So when a student arrives or a family arrives, what actually happens, so they can have conversations with parents of kids who might be in crisis. Our next meeting is the 22nd, so Thursday morning.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, we're up to liaison committee reports. Do we have any of them? Yep.
The Board of Somerset County Education Services Commission met on December 7th, and I attended that. Not much to report there, except that they have, so Somerset County Ed Services Commission is a commission that's set up within each county in New Jersey that runs shared services, primarily transportation, but the one in our county also has a school system that primarily services children with special needs, with the intent to keep them at their school for a limited amount of time and then transition them to a vocational school. In terms of their transportation business, the one thing of note was that prior to COVID, they had 100 drivers driving for them, and now they're down to 20, which are serving the Bridgewater School District, and they've had 0 new drivers apply for their positions, so it remains to be seen how much longer they can stay in the transportation business in terms of providing busing, but they are providing transportation service agreements in which they'll manage routes for district. They manage our special education routes. And I think that's about it.
Thank you. Any questions? Any other liaison reports? Okay, so now we are up to public comment on non-agenda items. If you come up for public comment, please state your name and address, and you can sign in on the clipboard afterwards.
Good evening, Lori Salomon, 66 Summit Drive. I read the 131-paragraph lawsuit filed by board member Kirsten Light against residents Erica Blackman and Stacy Letty. In paragraph 101 of her complaint, Ms. Light alleges she was slated to become president of the board effective January 1st, 2023. This is a direct quote from her lawsuit. It is my opinion that this allegation, if true, goes against the board's established protocol in which the current board vice president is advanced to the presidency. The board presidency is a weighty job that, in my opinion, should not be promised to someone serving on the board for less than 1 year. I believe we all have a right to know why Ms. Light alleged in a publicly filed court pleading that she was slated to become board president next month. Did any current board member or members make her such a promise? If not, who did and why? And is the board investigating the source of this alleged promise? I'm also concerned that certain events occurring now, things discussed at recent board meetings and that have made headlines in local news outlets, are sucking up valuable bandwidth. It is my opinion that when a sitting board member must be reprimanded by other board members for sending emails and texts and posting on social media, as mentioned at the last board meeting, or called out by local residents for filing a 36-page lawsuit against two of her neighbors, this depletes the board's resources. Instead of focusing on real issues affecting our children, such as building facilities or curriculum improvements, or pandemic-related intellectual and emotional challenges, board members are forced to direct their attention away from making progress in these areas. It also is my opinion that a sitting board member who refuses to answer legitimate questions from concerned members of the public or from other board members hampers the entire board, diminishing its ability to work cohesively and effectively. Thank you.
Is there anyone else for public comment?
Stella Perna, Tuxford Terrace. There was much discussion about Board Policy 0169 at the last meeting. As a result, I decided to look it up for myself to educate myself. Some portions of this policy place the superintendent between constituents / taxpayers and the elected Board of Education members when it comes to communication. Note that the superintendent is not an elected official and is not accountable to constituents. Board members hire and oversee the superintendent, not the other way around. As an example, if you email a Bernards Township Committee member with a question or complaint, you do not automatically get a reply from the township administrator. That would be Pat Monaco. That would be absurd. We have a right to communicate directly with our elected officials, i.e. board members. The BOE's communication policy appears flawed and should be revised accordingly to allow constituents to communicate directly with board members. What is an interesting observation is how current board members are focusing on only one part of this policy so that it can be used to unfairly criticize one board member, when the reality is that none of the board members are following the entire policy. A second point of this policy states that written communication between board members shall not replace deliberations that would prevent the public from witnessing in full detail all phases of the board's deliberations, policy formulation, and decision-making process in accordance with the intent of the Open Public Meetings Act. The public has never been allowed to witness all phases of its deliberations or policy formulation. You all board members make all of your decisions long well before you are gathered here at a public meeting. So you come in, vote on almost everything without public deliberations, and we, the constituents, know absolutely nothing about your decision-making process. I feel that approach needs to change. That is my opinion. Thankfully, I believe it may change after the newly elected board members are sworn in at the next meeting. Thank you.
Is there anyone else for public comment?
Annika Forzani, 45 John Drive. I've also been thinking a lot about the comments from the last few board meetings and the recent article in the Bernardsville News, and I have a few specific questions. First of all, there's been a lot of talk about financials and how our district is spending our money, and we all heard that there have been a number of breaches of protocol by the sitting Board of Ed member. So I would like to understand if these breaches are actually leading to any additional expenses to our district, particularly attorney fees, which we know affect our taxes. And if so, could you give us an idea of the extent of funds that are being used in response to these breaches of ethics protocols? I understand that you can't tell us the specifics of any cases, but I'd like to know the impact to us as taxpayers. My second question also had to do with the process of Board of Ed elections. Somebody else already mentioned about the article, but I also was very confused about how there was something in a lawsuit about Ms. Light having been notified that she won't be elected to serve as president of the board after she had been told she would serve. I don't understand that exactly. How is it that a board presidency was given to her in October before the midterm elections even occurred and then taken away? And we in the public were not informed about that, so what is the process? And if in fact we as a community have any say in board elections, I'd like to provide my input and really hope that the remaining board members as well as new incoming board members would reflect on this input when voting. First of all, there's been a lot of anger, resentment, and frustration related to the fact that a board member is suing community members in relation to questions about board meeting statements. These lawsuits, both by Ms. Light, but also actually what's been going on with the township suing the EMTs, have left many of us in the town feeling really utterly baffled and also dismayed. And I feel like it's really kind of tearing our community apart. And it's really not helping anyone, least of all the students and teachers that the board is meant to serve. So I'm actually concerned that these kind of lawsuits and the divisions and the bad press that they create will deter great new teachers and staff from joining our school district. So I would like to ask you to vote for a president who could genuinely bring the community together. In addition, we're losing a tremendous amount of experience having four board members leave at the same time. The people leaving include those with significant board experience, such as Ms. Gray, and people who have very extensive backgrounds in education, such as Ms. Skalski. And I think it's really important that we can have some continuity and a well-functioning board at the get-go. So I do ask you to take those things into, take experience into account. In the end, it's not a power thing. It's not about any individual board member. It's really about wanting a well-functioning board that supports our district in providing both academic and mental support to all of our students. And lastly, I just wanted to quickly thank the four board members who are leaving, Karen Gray, Suzanne Skalski, Gurdia Singh, and Dinesh Khanna. You've led with integrity and shown a great commitment to our school, a concern for all students, and you've given countless hours on behalf of our children, all during some of the most contentious years to be part of a Board of Ed in our country. So I really thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your efforts.
Sherry Nelson, 195 Smoke Rise Road. I've sent a couple of emails to all of you regarding my safety concerns around the changes to the pickup and drop-off procedures for students in the self-contained programs at Ridge. Nothing has been done to improve the situation. The sidewalk and stairs at the 700 wing are not long enough or wide enough to accommodate the volume of people that are back there all at the same time. It's at least 35 to 40 disabled students and their aides, so you're talking close to 80 people, and there's two-way traffic on the sidewalk and the stairs sometimes with teachers coming back down as students are coming up. Many of these have cognitive disabilities, but they also have some difficulty walking or with balance. I've seen people trying to get around each other and step off the curb and almost fall already. We have buses double parking, which causes cars and vans to back up as kids are stepping off the curb to get around cars. These are kids with cognitive disabilities who do not know what those white lights mean. And there are some families who have two disabled students they're loading into a car. And so students walking around the other side of a car. It's basically a nightmare. This is all happening at the same exit for student drivers around the area where student drivers are parking, which adds an additional safety concern. It's only a matter of time before someone is injured. I think we should move everything back to the PAC area and have a staff member direct traffic, because that was really the problem before. No one was directing traffic over there. Or you could have a separate zone for the buses and the cars, just like we do for the gen ed students. That's not happening for special ed. We're all crammed into the smallest curb of the entire building. It's really unsafe to mix all of them together in such a small space. We could have one group at the 700 wing, the other at the PAC. The PAC is literally sitting empty every afternoon for no logical reason at all. For the last 15 years, I have seen extra care taken to protect the special ed students at drop-off and dismissal. But this is not safe, especially what's happening at dismissal, because it's all at the same time. Morning drop-off, there's more stagger. You got like 20 minutes of people coming and going, but in the afternoon, we're all there at the same time. On a different note, the cell phone policy for Ridge states that students may use their cell phones in class with teachers' permission. But right now, we have administrators going around the building into classrooms, counting how many phones are in the hotel, and then counting how many students are in the room. When parents come here and ask questions, maybe about curriculum, you guys tell us, trust the teachers. We have to trust the teachers. But right now, my son's impression is that the administrators do not trust the teachers to manage their own classrooms. I don't know how this could help the morale at this school for our students or our teachers. I don't know how this is going to help us retain our excellent teachers. And I'm very surprised to hear that our administrators even have time for this. Lastly, there's a lot of interest from the public about this lawsuit. I'll be quick. Everyone's saying you're going to be intimidated to come to the microphone and speak at these meetings. By that standard, you all started to intimidate us a few years ago. I don't know if everyone remembers. We didn't always have this warning at the beginning of the meeting, but I'll quote what you guys have been saying since sometime in 2019. Members of the public are cautioned that they are commenting at their own risk, and any personally directed statements they make may subject them to a legal liability to the affected individual. Clearly, you're all aware that some people do cross the line and have a legal liability when they do so. We all have a right to stand up against false allegations, and sometimes that does involve litigation. That should not make anyone feel intimidated. We are all passionate about our kids and their education. As long as you stick to facts and remain respectful, you have nothing to worry about. And I agree with everything Ms. Perna said, but I couldn't fit it into 3 minutes. So.
Is there anyone else for public comment?
Hi, it's Jen Korn, 23 Woodstone Road. I already signed in before. I haven't been to a meeting since I've gotten off the board. I don't know if everyone knows. I've lived in Basking Ridge for 25 years. I'm raising 4 kids here. And I was on the board for 5 years. And the reason I got on the board was because of the state, it was really more of like the federal testing programs, right? And the one thing I want to say is I want to thank everyone, because it's really not easy to be up there for anyone. I want to thank the new members, the old members, Karen. I just want to thank all of you who are leaving, because it's a sacrifice. And I want to thank the new members. I want to thank Kristen for wanting to take the time to be on the board to make change. But I just wanted to say that it's not all about what our change we want to make. Because when you get on the board, you are representing everyone. And today's comments are a good example of how everyone's split. Like, everyone has one thing in common. We all really care about the kids, right? We all want the best education for them. And I really find that when I was reading the paper, all this, it's a lot of vitriol. It can't be good for the kids to see the adults acting like this towards one another, right? Because when you vote people onto the board, you trust that they're gonna, their own ideology. And believe me, I have really strong beliefs about lots of things. But I can't let my own ideology block half the town. So I have to see something from everyone's perspective and have respect. And then I feel like you have to have trust. You have to trust in the administrators and the teachers and the board to do the right thing. If there's no trust, then you have nothing. Then you're just here yelling at each other, suing each other, going crazy. And I feel like there has to be a big reset. There has to be something. And I'm hoping the new board members are here to hear that it's not all about you. It's about the school and the kids, right? So we can give a good example for our children. And also, if I give you a little advice, why don't you get to know each other personally a little bit, right? Why don't you get to know, everyone up here is like a mom, a dad, they have kids, they have families, and they also have common sense. Let's put a little common sense into what we're saying and what we're doing. Because if you think that the teachers we have, the administrators we have are just out to do bad things to your kids, and then, I don't know, then why do you live here? I mean, this is a great town. Everyone in town they do such awesome things for each other. And we're here, you come to meetings, you're reading the paper, you're at each other's throats, and it's depressing and sad. And so I just came to say that, like, I wish everyone could just, like, you're gonna have to, something's gonna have to give here, you know? And I'm sorry, I'm glad, I thank you, and you're leaving, I'm sorry. But I'm not, I mean, I'm glad for new people coming in. Hey, you know, why don't we all start over? I don't even know what you can do. I mean, the paper, reading the paper is not good. It's not uplifting. It's not saying, wow, we're really heading in a great direction. It's saying we're making some bad decisions. We're all getting into our own little like tribes, and we're fighting each other, which is not helping anyone. So I just want to say, you know, that being on the board was hard, but it was rewarding. And I didn't leave the board because I did not respect or like anyone on the board. I left because of things that were being imposed on our school that I didn't believe in. And if you really, I want to know how many people have actually gone to Trenton to fight some of the stuff that you're complaining about every day you come up here. How many people have gone down there and said, hey, what are you doing? Why are you imposing these mandates on our schools that one, that are expensive, two, nobody wants them? And then we have to trust that our administrators are the people we have taking care of our kids are using their common sense to know what to implement, what can be done, what can't be done, what shouldn't be done. So I feel like we've lost a lot of trust. People are saying awful things. It's just not, I don't know, it's like we're not mature enough to handle what's going on. And I understand there's anger. I understand questioning things and trying to, like, you have to trust, but you can trust and then verify. You know, you can ask questions. If you have questions about, nothing's perfect. There's always things that can be changed and can be improved. But you have to do it in a way that makes people want to listen to you and doesn't make people want to turn their backs, you know? And I love our town, and I love our schools, and I raise my kids here, and there's plenty of things. Even there's examples of stuff I heard today that, hey, I would like to say something about, and maybe I will, but I'm saying that things can be done a little bit, with a little bit more respect. I'm done.
Yeah, okay.
I'm done. I know, it was a long
Thanks.
time. I just feel really strongly about it. It makes me sad, and I'm hoping that when we get, you know, in the new year, you can all start new, and, you know, things will get better. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Eva Daffenbad, Valley Road. I wanted to first of all thank Kyle. Kyle, you did a great job today sharing all of those things that I can understand might be the best part of every board member's meeting. And awesome, Kyle. Great job. I also want to thank the current, the outgoing, and hopefully in advance, the incoming board members who act on the best interest of the children in mind, that are protective of our children, are sincere, and also will keep the greater picture of the fact, as my daughter said, they're just kids. And in their words and their thoughts, they measure that, and they think about the appropriate manner to deal with kids. So I would like to thank the people on this board who have acted in the best interest of our children. Thank you.
Cody Smith, 36 Royal Oak Drive. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but after hearing everything, just a few comments. Obviously, it'll be a different dynamic when the new board gets in. I don't know what was going on, and I don't, quite frankly, really care about whether Ms. Light is the chair or not, because it's a 9-member board, the majority controls, and the chair, to me, doesn't have any extra powers, if you will. So it doesn't really make a difference as to who the chair is, but I don't really care about that. As to kind of the tone, I don't think Ms. Light was ever really accepted It seemed like a number of meetings she got attacked and asked a lot of questions by others. That doesn't mean that the lawsuit is directed at the board or anything else. The lawsuit to me is very unfortunate. I was at the meeting where she made the comments about the Holocaust and other trainings. I think, Ms. Fox, I probably spoke to you about the same thing 18 months ago, so maybe I'm an anti-Semite also. I don't think so, but I don't know how you could get what Ms. Blackman said out of what Ms. Light said that night at the meeting, and what Ms. Blackman posted in another paper was unfortunate. So I would like to see the lawsuit go away too. I think perhaps if maybe Ms. Blackman would come and apologize for what she put in the paper, and maybe Ms. Light can drop the lawsuit. We really don't need this thing to go on and carry on for a year. And for those individuals to spend unnecessary money on lawyers, I agree with the comment that to the extent that the board gets drug into this thing, they should keep us apprised and tell us what's going on and what it's costing to the extent that they can, understanding confidentiality and those types of things. And hopefully the board will stay out of it and take a minimalist approach. It doesn't involve the board. The board's not named in the lawsuit. The board doesn't have to take sides. But I would like to see, like everybody else, that this thing not go forward. Hopefully the parties can reach a solution and we can get it behind us and move on and see what the new board has in mind. I'm working on a list for transparency and some suggestions, which I'll bring back sometime in January. It may not be at the first meeting because I'm out of town, but I do think, to what Ms. Perna said, that there are some comments that I'd like to share about how I think that we could be more transparent and get along. Part of it is the agendas and some of the other things, but I'll bring that back in January. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bev Darvin-Swerner, 111 Elmwood Court. I would like to say I came out tonight to hear the a cappella choir perform, which I enjoyed every year when I was on the board, but unfortunately, I've been watching meetings online and reading the news reported about our Board of Education, and I have some comments I would like to make based on my experience serving on the Board of Education for about 10 years. I couldn't agree with what my former colleague, Ms. Korn, said more, that we need to get along. When you're sworn in as a board member, you adhere to a code of ethics to meet the needs of the students. So my comments are going to keep that in perspective. First of all, regarding board leadership, I would counter that the president of the Board of Education does make a difference, because they are the ones coordinating the 9 people to make sure everything is run efficiently. In my experience on my years in the board, the person who serves as president has to have an understanding of the policies and the processes that the board adheres to. They should probably have experience as the leader of at least one committee on the board. They should probably have attended multiple New Jersey School Boards Association trainings. They should have deep and established relationships with both the administration and board colleagues. And it's also very helpful if they've participated in at least one negotiation cycle. That being said, if someone's appointed president of the board and doesn't have that deep and rich experience, how are they going to be best able to meet the needs of the students? Unless this process has changed dramatically since I served on the board, why would the board elect someone to lead them without those experiences? Secondly, I have some concerns about a lawsuit that was being filed. During my time on the board, and for those of you who served with me, you know this, terrible things were said about me, about decisions they disagreed with, untruths were told about me. It's a challenging position, but when you choose to be an elected public servant, your responsibility is to best meet the needs of the students and have a little bit of a thick skin. You can't be an effective Board of Ed member if you're filing lawsuits every time someone disagrees with you or says something about you that's either unkind or untrue. And I see some heads nodding. I'm sure some of you have experienced that as well. And finally, my last part of my statement is based on my experience serving on the board. I don't know this to be a fact, but I can only assume that when board members are not following policies and filing lawsuits and causing challenges, it's probably costing our district some money in legal consultation fees. Now, getting back to the board code of ethics, best meeting the needs of the student, why on earth would any sitting board member do something that would take money away from our students, our staff, and our faculty? And finally, I want to thank each and every one of you, because I know firsthand it is countless hours of volunteer time and pretty thankless, and I'm appreciative of every single one of you sitting at this table agreeing to take on this position. Thank you.
Is there anyone else for public comment? Is there anyone waiting in Zoom? No? Okay, at this point, I'll close public comment.
Okay, I can touch on a couple of these here. Thank you, Mrs. Nelson. I know you've sent a couple emails, and I have reached out to Russ. I really need to see it for myself, so I will get out to dismissal and check out what's going on with Russ, and I'll probably grab one of our safety folks. Maybe I think I see Hank back there. I'll grab Hank and one of our facilities guys, and we'll take a look at what's going on back there at drop-off, and I'll follow up with you about it. Before I forget, a couple of other things. Definitely, you know, a big shout out to board members, all board members. It is a tough job. Despite what some people might think, there is no compensation, and there is no car. There's no stipend. There are only the cookies that you bring each other. So thank you for those of you that are constantly bringing cookies. Karen Gray, Suzanne, Dinesh Goodia, you know, thank you guys so much for your support and your service. And I'm looking forward to working with all the new board members coming in. We've had some touch-base conversations, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know people. Just trying to look at... I don't have a lot to say on all of the other stuff. But I do want to say Happy Hanukkah. I know some folks started celebrating last night, and Merry Christmas to everyone that's looking forward to the Christmas holiday. It's just really nice to hear music like we heard tonight and close your eyes. Try to find that quiet space where you can listen. That silence. And pray for peace.
I think it's probably time to move to board forum. So we'll open up board forum. Does anyone want to start?
I know I'm supposed to go last, but before that, there's a couple of public comments that were made tonight that I just feel like I want to say something about. One of the comments about the public comment notice in the agenda, I'm looking for sanity check, but my recollection is that it was always there. We just never read it aloud because we weren't in a position in our community where there was so much hostility and anger and temptation to use individual staff members' names and throw them under buses. So that, I know because of the last couple of years and obviously the pandemic, there were occasions that, you know, it was more problematic, so it probably became more obvious to everyone that that statement existed in the agendas, but the caution to you know, choose your words wisely because, you know, we can't get into matters of personnel was always there. So I wanted to mention that. And then I think I heard one commenter say something about Ms. Light never really having been accepted, and I just take strong umbrage to that. So can't leave that hanging out there in the public comment. I disagree wholeheartedly. And then another comment was about board discourse, and I think that the gist of it was civility, which I'm 100% behind, but there seems to be a notion that recent meetings, which maybe just are being better attended these days, are in some way different, and I know at least one commenter who's been here and around long enough and experienced personally the kind of discourse that used to happen on these Board of Education stages. It was really rough. Lots of times there were a lot of discussions that were very heated, and there were board members personally insulting Ms. Swerner. I sat in the audience and I watched it, and it was horrifying. And I don't think any of it that has been mentioned recently rises anywhere near the level. It's just maybe a little bit uncomfortable when one individual seems to be singled out for a question or a concern. And what I'm hearing from the community is, particularly someone tonight wants to hear everything, all the discussions, all the conversations, all the deliberations. That would lead to more, not less of that, because it's a mistake to think that everyone is sitting up here is just agreeing and nodding to everything. So I think we just have to be mindful that it's okay to question one another, and I think for the most part it's been done in a pretty well-mannered way, even though it may seem, because there is one person who has frequently ended up on the one side of the questions or confusion, that it is somehow targeted or worse. But I just don't see that as the case, and I've been watching board meetings for what seems like forever. Just had to say those few things, sorry.
Anyone else?
Are you going to address?
I can't see down there, sorry. Nick's leaning in forward.
Can you see me? Do you want me to address or are you going to address the leadership questions that came up? I just was going to say that, as somebody who has been on the board for a while, there's always been a way things have been done, and whether for some it was spoken or some not spoken, and in my 5 years it's always been there was training involved, and so whether I was involved in any kind of conversation, which typically you're not until January, I made assumptions at times that whoever was the vice president, they were doing their training. And that in my tenure on the board has been how it's been. And those people have chaired finance and personnel and curriculum and either been on negotiations or led negotiations. They have relationships with staff. And there's a reason for that, because there's a lot of stuff that goes on that when you first come on the board, you might think you know everything, but you don't. And you're kind of in for like this rude awakening of like, oh my gosh, I didn't know how bidding worked. I didn't know that you can't just go with who you want to go with, or I didn't know that these mandates, like we'll lose funding if we don't do these certain kind of like there's a big learning curve, and I just think that we benefit from learning from all of us together, and I think it is in our students' best interest to have somebody who has that experience and is able to lead, because also not only do they have to be able to communicate with the public, they have to be able to communicate with all of us. So it's not unheard of for the person who's in leadership to pick up the phone and call somebody and say, there's something coming up, I need to fill you in on this, what are your thoughts on that? So you do want to have somebody who has that ability to do that. And I also just want to comment on this notion that it has to do with the majority. It has nothing to do with the majority, the person who is the president. I mean, I know some people seem to think that we all are one mindset, but that's really very, very not true. A lot of our discussions that go on offline because there's certain ones that take place during committee meetings. And so when you do see us all come together, a lot of that stuff has been hashed out already, and we've asked our questions, and we've, gotten our answers, and it shouldn't matter whether there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new people sitting up here. You can't make that assumption that, oh, well, because you're all coming on together, you're all going to be of one mindset, because I would hope that's not the way it is. I would hope that anybody who's new to come and sitting up here is going to do their homework and make a decision on what they think is the best decision, and not just be making a decision because, well, 3 other people are going to do that, so I'll go along with that. That's not how we work. And there are certain regulations of what we can talk about in public and what we can't talk about in public. So I think to just a community member who doesn't know that, that's stuff that you're not aware of. But I can tell you as a board, there has not been any conversation whatsoever among all of us as a board about what will be taking place come January, because the people sitting here now are not the people who will be sitting here in January. So I think it was one of the couple of questions that came up asking about that. So I just wanted to clarify that's how it works, which is, there's a whole process. That's the reorg meeting, and that is when we will talk about it with the current board and the new board members.
Anyone else? Suzanne?
So I wanted to just comment, the choir tonight was so great, and I had a chance to hear them previewed at one of their caroling concerts. I do encourage everyone to attend the concert tomorrow. There's nothing quite like that will get you in the holiday spirit. And I have a few other little things I just want to say. So as I finish my 4 years on the Board of Ed, I wanted to say thank you to this evening. Thank you to the community for the opportunity to serve on the Board of Ed. It was a privilege to be a part of a board that cares so much for our children, our district, and our town. I'd like to thank the current BOE and the school administration for your professionalism, your wisdom, your friendship, and your patience. This is by far the hardest volunteer job I have ever had, and most in the community do not understand the time and effort that is expected of a member of the BOE. Well, Ms. Korn and Ms. no, but but you all know, and I applaud your service and your passion. For those of you staying on, keep up the good work, good luck, and stay vigilant. For the new members of the Board of Ed, please start your terms by listening and learning. There is so much to learn and understand, and you have an invaluable resource and history in the current members. No good new leader jumps in and makes changes without observing, listening, and understanding the organization and the culture. With my youngest graduating this spring, it would be easy to say that my interest or involvement in the district is done. And we definitely heard this sentiment during meetings this fall. People who said, I don't have kids in the school, so this school board stuff doesn't affect me. But this affects us all. We're producing the next generation of citizens for our town, the leaders of the world, and good neighbors. The BOE must pay attention to not only the academic performance of this district, but also the wellness of our students. We must continue to attract and support the best teachers, administrators, and staff. We must, as a district, support high intellectual achievement, but also help our students understand and appreciate the diverse world around them to prepare them to be the leaders of tomorrow. This takes resources, diligence, responsible planning, and courage. As a parent and a community member, I will continue to support and engage through opportunities such as attending BOE meetings and BT Connect meetings, and I encourage the community to do the same. It has been my honor to serve on the board, and I wish everyone a happy and healthy holiday.
Okay, I guess I'm going to say thank you also. No peer pressure, Susan. I haven't been on the board for very long, but it's been an amazing experience. I wanted to take a moment and say that it's been a privilege and a pleasure to work with all of you. Our school district And the children and the parents of our school district are very, very fortunate to have such a cohesive board, and I hope that that remains the case January on. Thanks to Nick, Sean, Kristen, Rod, who's not here, John, and the rest of the board members up here. You guys have been so instrumental in me acclimating so easily and just learning the process. It's been really interesting. Before I joined the board, it definitely felt like I was under a rock, and I feel like after you leave the board, you can't actually go back under the rock. So, you know, I'm here. And now I'm here. I think our district does a great job setting our kids up for success, but as a district, I think we have a lot of work to do ahead. And I'm hopeful that the new board is going to keep an open mind, work together to find practical solutions that benefit, first and foremost, the students and their families. I've said this before, but it's been a very humbling experience. I definitely didn't realize what I was getting into when I first joined. But luckily, all of you made that process much, much better for me, and I've learned from a very exceptional team. And through the process, I've also created some really great friendships, so I'm very thankful for that. I know you're going to miss me sitting up here, you know, smiling, my dashing smile, and talking about healthy cookies without butter and processed sugar, but you know where to find me. And I can't lie, I'm really going to enjoy having my Mondays back. You know, I think Monday Night Football has not been the same since I got on the board, so I am going to be happy about that. And lastly, happy holidays and Happy New Year to all of you.
I know it's usually ladies first, but I know you're bringing down the house. So, I just wanted to reiterate what Ms. Deffenbaugh was saying, that yes, you're right. The student report is the best part of the board meeting. Unfortunately, Kyle got one up by the a cappella group tonight on his inaugural visit, but you know, now you know what it takes, right? You've seen what it takes. So, but yes, it is great. That part of it, like the student feedback, the parent feedback, the staff feedback, I kind of want to just give another plug to the BT Connect meetings. I do hope we continue those in the new year. I think they've been a really great chance to have more informal feedback, less than this kind of construct that we have here, which I really don't like. But it's a great way to talk to parents when you're not just out in the community on the soccer sidelines or something like that, and really just focusing on a single issue that affects everybody in the district. And you get a lot of good feedback from students, parents, staff, administrators, board members, general community members that want to come in and talk. So now on to kind of like, thank you for our board members. So to Karen, I just wanted to say that, you know, I really appreciated your kind of analytical mindset and historical knowledge of the district. Like whenever we were in finance or personnel committee meetings, I'm always quick to offer an opinion on something, and I'm usually stubborn in that. But I think having the feedback of, you know, somebody who's been there and been in the audience and been here and sent 4 kids through the district, I always really appreciated that, because it provides a real practical context to every decision we're making, from both the side of being in the audience and sending your kids through, and mine aren't through yet, but having been through the whole process and reflecting on what impacts that can have, and especially, I guess now that some of your kids are teaching, on staff. So you were always very tuned into how every decision we made, what is the impact on the staff, how will the staff feel about that, so I always appreciated that. I will also certainly miss our little side discussions about Ridge Sports and Club Lacrosse, so I'll miss that in the future. Suzanne, I want to say thank you. I think Suzanne is like the most underutilized resource of the board, because this is a means to an end, right? We are preparing students, like Ms. Swerner said, right? We're preparing them for success, and however we do that, we're all aligned on that goal here. We want the kids to succeed, and we want to set up the best environment to make that happen. Ms. Schaefer-Skalski is a Rutgers admissions counselor, so whenever we're talking about test scores and Ivy Leagues or colleges, Suzanne always really came through with, you know, setting kids up, individual kids, for how they're going to succeed, not, you know, it's a race to APs or a race to IVs. I think, it would have, I have done this offline and quizzed her and deposed her on, what Rutgers admissions are like, what happened since they joined the Big Ten, what's going on. So I've gotten some of that, but I think, we could have had presentation after presentation on, where our kids are going. I mean, Rutgers, is one of the biggest places we send our kids here. So what it's like, how they're, the realities of applying to college and going to that school where we send so many of our kids. So I definitely appreciated those discussions. Goodia, I want to thank you because I think Goodia brought a great perspective to the board coming right from being on the WAMS PTO and being tuned into WAMS. So before my kids are now, my oldest are in 7th grade, and WAMS, we didn't have a middle school on land, so this is my first time experiencing what a middle school was. So the WAMS environment is very dynamic, I'll say, and having somebody that was on the WAMS PTO coming onto the board, I think tuned into like a lot of those issues when the kids are kind of discovering who they are and, getting from out of the kind of little kid era into the now I'm a big kid, but I'm not all the way there yet, but I kind of want to be there. So I really appreciated that. And I think Goodia really embodied what Jen Korn was saying about, trying to find a way forward that's going to please everyone somewhat. Like how can we find that? I don't know that it's possible, but if you have someone that's striving for that, I think that's a very valuable person to have in the room. So I really appreciate that, Goodia. And Dinesh, we hardly knew ye. I hardly knew ye, but we're both twin dads. So we have an unbreakable bond that will never be broken, obviously. So best wishes in the future. And just wanted to say happy holidays to everybody and best wishes in the new year.
Go ahead.
Before Karen goes, I just wanted to say to everybody on the board, thank you so much. To all the board members who are leaving, it's been a wonderful experience. Like Goodia said, it's not just professional. It's not that we're just civil with each other. We get to know each other a little bit, and we gain new friends in our community. So I just wanted to say thank you for everything you have done and for being on this board. For everyone out in the community and on the board, happy holidays. Hope you get to enjoy your time with your family and friends.
Wait, I have to go because you're going last, right? Okay. Obviously, I also want to thank all the members who are leaving for your service, and it's been an amazing experience getting to know all of you. Something that Ms. Korn again said about trust really stuck with me. I think that we all are here for the same reason, and I think the fact that we trust that we're here for that reason is what has made things work really well. Ironically, I'm doing a research project on relational trust in school districts, so every time I have to work on it, it makes me think about it. So that's one thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately. And I really hope that going forward, like a number of people in the community came up and said, I hope that we can work together and that we can, try to repair some of the lack of trust that's out there. I think, up here we've been pretty good. And so I don't have a big speech prepared for each and every one of you. I just have to say to Karen, it's been a long haul even before you were on the board that we've worked together. And I just want to really thank you for, especially during COVID, stepping up and really putting an amazing amount of your energy into this school district, like you always have, but during COVID, when we were all overwhelmed with our kids and all of that, I just really want to thank you for that.
Okay, I hate that I have to do this, but I have a housekeeping item that I forgot to say in my 4 notes, and if you know me, that would bug me. So earlier, one of the or more than one of the public comments was a question about whether there was a discussion among this board about electing anyone as board president, and I just want to say that I'm not aware of any conversations. I was not asked anything, or was there any discussion in any way, shape, or form about electing a specific person for January. So I just felt the need to clarify what was questioned in the public. All right, that being said, housekeeping is closed. I might cry. It's been 8.5 years. It's been my distinct privilege and honor to serve the school community as a board member and as a longtime volunteer. For those of you who don't know me, I moved here 24 years ago. I had 3 young kids. We moved into the hills. There was no Mount Prospect School. When the building was being built, we weren't sure, because we were at the lower end of the hills, closer to Somerville Road, whether our kids would go to Liberty Corner or go to the hills. We had no idea. So in June of 1999, knowing that the building would be opening in September, myself and a few neighbors said, we better go to this Board of Ed meeting and just find out where our kids are going to school next year. And while we did learn that, I learned a lot more, and that was how important going to a Board of Ed meeting was and how much you learned when you went there. So I made it my goal to, as much as possible, attend those meetings. And back then they were at 8 o'clock, not 7 o'clock, which was better and worse. So 7 o'clock's better, you get home earlier, but 8 o'clock was hard for other reasons. Just so late into the night, the meetings would go to like midnight. So anyway, for those of you who attend, please keep attending. It's so important. I learned so much. I felt like I was a student of the school district, just trying to learn everything that I could. And yes, that made me frustrated at times and aggravated, and I stood exactly where many of you were standing tonight, frustrated about many different things, but that's the process, and that's why we come here as members of the community, and that's why we sit here, is to hear what the community has on their mind. Through my volunteer experiences, which were many before I came on the board, I was PTO president at 2 different schools. I was a WAMS-AO co-president. I don't even know the committees that I chaired. It was a lot of fun. I met a lot of staff members, and I love you all. You are amazing, hardworking, dedicated professionals. You show your commitment every single day, and I see 3 of you right there. And from the bottom of my heart, you are literally the backbone of our district, and you make it everything that it is for our students. And I've got 3 successful college graduates and 1 who's almost there. And they often refer to their experiences, particularly at Ridge, because obviously when they were younger, they weren't thinking about it. So thank you so much. For those of you staying on the board, support our educators. I know you do, but continue to do so. And for those coming on the board, which I think you're all here, just hear what they have to say. Know that there's volumes of wisdom there, and it's well worth supporting them and hearing their perspectives. I worry that public education is at a precipice in our country right now, and I think we just have to value our educators. You heard Tim say it. I have a daughter who's a teacher and one who's going to be a school counselor in 2 years, and I worry a lot. I really do. To the community, thank you for the opportunity to serve. Thank you for your engagement, your insight, your passion about whatever brings you here. I always love seeing community members come and share their thoughts and concerns at the microphone. I'm not going to say I love all the comments, but I certainly love that people come out and say what's on their mind. To my fellow board members, you're all amazing, and I can't thank you enough for your camaraderie, your professionalism, your candor. It's been a pleasure to serve with each and every one of you. I've learned so much from you and have enjoyed the opportunity to get to know each of you. I wish you all the best going forward, whether you're staying on the board or not. Gudia will be watching some Monday night Patriots games, right? To Nick and Sean and Kristen, I don't even know what to say. It's been a very long time. I've known you in several different roles, and I have just enjoyed the opportunity to work with each of you, and I think you're amazing. You're consummate professionals of the highest integrity, and I know I'm proud, and the whole district should be proud of the fact that we have you here in our district. To Mr. McLaughlin, who's not here, congratulations on your retirement. I doubt he's watching, but just in case. And your work here has been exceptional. We're so fortunate to have had you for these 10 years. Mr. Krug, thank you for being here with us each and every Monday. Well, other Monday. And because I'm not going anywhere, I don't want you to be surprised if you see me out there, because I think I might be out there, just a few times, not all the time. And I just want to finish by saying, just thank you for continuing to do this good work. I'm sorry, I moved away from the mic. And just keep doing what you're doing, because it's really important. And like I said, education, public education needs you. Happy holidays to everyone. Wish you the best. And Karen Gray out.
Is anyone else? We're ready for a motion for adjournment? Well, Karen has to make it. Okay, who wants a second? Suzanne. All in favor?